It is my privilege and pleasure to present to you the 2013 Stratford Festival Legacy Award to Star of Stage, Screen, Recording Studio, and so much more, the incomparable and truly great William Shatner. That's a true story. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Well, gee whiz. When I was asked to come and be a part of this, I thought, well, okay, I'll go there because I love everything involved here. I love the festival in Toronto. I love Ontario. I love Canada. And my wife, Elizabeth, and I said we'd come up. And then I thought, well, I'm going to have to say something, so I'll compose a few remarks. A sentence or two will do. Thank you very much for this wonderful award, and good night. And then as this evening has transpired, I thought, I haven't prepared enough. Intrinsic in what everybody's been saying is, what was it like back then? What happened? I've done interviews since early this morning, publicizing the festival and the award and a couple of other things that I'm doing. Well, I took the opportunity. It was why not talk about other things in the award? And so the questions I got all morning was, what was it like? But here this evening, I sense that I'm remiss if I don't talk a little bit about what my memory was of the second, third, and fourth season. So forgive me if I stumble around a little, but John Manley. John Manley. Have you heard that name? No, you haven't. John Manley was the guy who put up the tent. He was of the circus. He put up tents for the Ringling Brothers. And Stratford had the audacity, Bob, the guy who went to England, Bob Patterson. I can't remember everything. Bob Patterson went to London and contacted Tyrone Guthrie, and said, would he come? And Guthrie, he was towering in physical stature, but he also had a mystical mind, and so something within him said, I'll come to this town. Yes, I know the town, Stratford, but it's in England, isn't it? No, it's 90 miles north of this place called Toronto. And he said he'd come. So they dug a hole in the ground, and then they got a hold of John Manley, and he put a tent over it. And the tent, I remember thinking, I wonder if he sails, because he would haul this thing up, and then he'd have to tune it. He'd say, I'm tuning it, I'm tuning it, I'm tuning it. Pull over there, get over there. And then it would rain. I don't know whether any of you have camped out and been in a canvas tent in the rain, but it's a train. You can't hear yourself with a really good rain, let alone a drizzle. A good rain is deafening in a tent, and he'd have to pull and adjust because it was sagging a little here and sagging a little. John Manley. talked to him. Sail, no. No, but I've been with the circus. I've traveled with the circus. And I've had to do this all my life. And the tent was his baby. That's background music. Frederick Valk played Shylock in The Merchant of Venice. He was a German, Austrian actor who had performed it in German. Shylock. He was massive. He had a bald head. He was a massive guy. He talked with an accent, but he said, you know, he spoke with such energy. And I was playing Graciano. And when he came to the speech, do we not bleed? As an actor, let alone to the part, I was looking up at him, mouth agape. Oh my God, Frederick Valk. And he said, do we not bleed? And he spit. In front of 2,500 people. You can't let on that it's not supposed to happen. That happens every night. Tyrone Guthrie thought of it. Spit, Frederick, right in Shatner's mouth. I had this German actor spit in my mouth. We went, the actors all went into the theater. There was a cyclone fence with a gate, and then you had to have, I've forgotten what, the password or something or other, to get in. But people coming to the theater that evening would all congregate around the cyclone fence, you know, looking at the animals coming in. Look at that. That reminds me of the Toronto Zoo and the elephants there. And you would walk through these silent people who were looking. I felt like one of the elephants, I guess. You know, why are you looking at me like that? It was strange feeling. Those wonderful actors mostly from Toronto, from the radio and theater here in this city, made their way to Stratford every summer. I arrived 1 year later, where just about everybody was a member of the company had come back, so I was sort of a stranger. And the first morning I was there, I was sitting on the stage along with the rest of the company, and awkward, you know. I was from Montreal, and then I'd worked in Stratford, in Ottawa, for 3 years, the Canadian Repertory Theatre, and so I felt like a hick. You know, I felt like I'd come from Sudbury or something like that. And down the steps strode this giant man, and he got to the thrust stage there, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he said, "Shatner, you will," and he did an English accent, and I won't try out my English accent on you folks, but he said, "Shatner, you will play the understudy of Henry V to Christopher Plummer." Wow. So I went back to my little one-room boarding breakfast and bedroom thing, except there was no breakfast. It was just a horsehair couch, little horsehair couch, and a bed, and that was it. And I don't know why. I don't know the reason why I drilled those words into my head. But night after night, I'd come home and I'd have that script, and I drilled and I drilled and I drilled. Because in repertoire, the company, I presume the same thing goes on. You rehearse, say, for a month, and then you put the play on, then you immediately, the next day, you're rehearsing another play. And then that takes 3, 4 weeks, and then you put that on, and then in our case, a third play. And you were doing the 3 plays in repertoire, and then when that was rehearsed and on the boards, why, then it was time for understudy rehearsals. So, not only did nobody knew the words, they didn't pay attention to where the choreography was, who was wearing what, where the other actors were. I mean, you know, you're so busy rehearsing whatever it is you're doing at night and rehearsing during the day, you don't have time. The time will be 3, 4 months. Nobody goes on understudy. Nobody read. That afternoon, a week after we'd opened, they said, "Come see Guthrie." I thought, "Oh God, they found me out. I'm going to be fired." And I get in there, and Guthrie says, "Can you go on tonight?" I said, "Go on? To what? What do you want me to go on with? Can you, Plummer is sick. Can you go?" I said, "But I've never said the words. I've never said the words out loud." Let's see. Sinew, summon up the sinew and stiffen the blood. And no, it says summon up the blood, stiffen the sinew. I got it now. He said, "Can you go on?" I said, "Yes." What in heaven's name was I thinking? Why, who can go on? I didn't know the name of the actors. I didn't know Eric House. "Oh, how do you do, Mr. House?" You know, I knew nothing. What would make me say yes? How callow, how stupid. You know what it was? The dendrites hadn't made the connection yet. We have a psychiatrist here. He knows. He's the only one in the room who knows what I mean. That's why adolescents are driving cars that we say, "Now be careful. You could kill yourself." And they drive and they have accidents because they don't think in terms of consequences. I must have been delayed adolescent because I didn't think of the consequences. "Oh, I'll go on. Let's see, Chris and I are about the same." I put on this thing. "Yeah, it fits. That's good." Does he walk in or does he sit when he walks in the first time? Yeah. And I blundered my way through it. And it was a happening. And the cast turned in. I'd never seen this before. The whole cast on that thrust stage, and I'm standing like in the middle, and they all turned in and they applauded. And the audience rose and they applauded. And it was a magical time. I look back on that and I think, I would never do that now. Are you kidding me? So there's a flavor of what it must have been like. I want to thank you for this award. This is sensational. It's a block of but it's very meaningful. And it will have a place on our mantelpiece along with the Eskimo bear that's dancing. So this is really good. I mean, giving an award to living legends, but there's a problem. There's a problem. See, I'm a legend in the making. Okay, now thank you, but you see, you don't applaud for a legend in the making. It's sort of, maybe one clap. Yeah, okay, legend. When he becomes a legend, then you applaud. So it's great that you're giving, because Chris Plummer is a legend. What an actor! What a man! What a buddy! He's fantastic. And Dame Maggie Smith, come on. Now listen, Dame and Maggie don't go together. Dame Maggie? It's got to be Margaret. I don't have some dignity. So these are legends. These are their scope and the quality of the work is legendary. In the early years, when I came to Toronto, on my way to Stratford and stayed for a few years as I performed in radio and in TV. In those early years, Toronto was a city, a legendary city in the making. I mean, there were blue Sundays, you remember those? Everybody dressed in black and in dark blue. Black. And the skies were gray. And it was only after I left did the CBC had an English accent, by the way, and radio was our forte. It was only after I left Toronto did the skies clear and people dress in light colors, and the CBC became a legend. There's a value in leaving if things become legendary, and I should do that more often. In fact, Canada was a country, a legend in the making. 60 years ago, the Canadian government was saving seals and from being killed. Greenpeace was starting up, and Canada was known throughout the world as a ecologically sensitive country. And during the intervening time, Canada may have lost some of that luster. Well, when you think about the oil in Alberta and the salmon in British Columbia, for two things, and I don't want to mention the cod in Newfoundland, but I just mentioned it. So perhaps when I leave Toronto tomorrow, that will energize a new call to ecological excellence. And legend, to me, carries the sensation of being rarely seen, you know. Did I see Shatner going into the subway? I think I saw Shatner. No, I saw Shatner in a sailing boat up in the northern Pacific. He was catching a salmon. But you see, on the contrary, I'm out there in full view. 2 weeks ago, I did a reading of two gentlemen from Verona. Tom Hanks in Los Angeles every year has a reading, a Shakespeare reading. He calls upon his friends, some well-known actors and stuff, and I become part of the company, and we read through the script in the morning, put it on its feet somewhat in the afternoon, and in the evening, 1,500 people see these somewhat legendary actors making fools of themselves. So this year, and then Ben Donnenberg, the director of, and it's for charity, it's to raise awareness of Shakespeare in the schools. So this year, Donnenberg over the last several years has called upon musical giants to be there and to sing for transitions between the scenes. And this year, he got Paul McCartney. And between the scenes of Two Gentlemen of Verona, he sang maybe 20 of the Beatles songs. And they asked me to sing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Sure, you may laugh and you may applaud, both of which were desultory, I may add. So I meet Paul McCartney and we rehearse, and he's singing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and I'm doing the verse. On top of which, Ben Donnenberg said, let's do Two Gentlemen of Verona like it was mafia, like mob time. So the Duke, the part I played, was the Don. And so I began Lucy in the Skies with Diamond with, picture yourself in a boat on a river. It was sensational. Paul McCartney. So he is Sir Paul, and I am surreal. And in addition to being out there in full view, I next week on Canadian television, my one-man show will be shown on Movie Central at next Sunday at 8 o'clock. And it would be, and Ponder the Mystery, a new album. I wrote the lyrics to which, and Billy Sherwood of Yes wrote the music, and a plethora of great musicians are playing on every song, and It's a remarkable album. It's a progressive rock album. It's kind of out there, but it's very musical, and I urge you to listen to some of it anyway. So, I'm a legend in the making, okay? And will strive with my heart and soul to be worthy of the term legend, which is engraved on this block of glass. And if this means only an occasional sighting, I'm afraid we're all going to be a little disappointed. Thank you very much.